Hello everyone and welcome back to the weekly update for Cozy Crops. This is week 16 and today is January 26th. This week we had 23 commits from 4 different contributors, which brings our lifetime commits to 374 from 8 lifetime contributors, and we just wrapped up week 16 of 18. This week, McFunkyPants came in and added support for the player avatars, that way they can have no accessories. He also added a shadow render, so that way you can see the player's shadow while you're inside of the game. Owen went through and added in a mini grand piano to the carpentry items, so that way the player can purchase them and have them be inside of their house. I went through and updated some crop and tree data. I also changed the first fish per H's recommendation from a typical fish to like an unknown fish. That way you can see one on the surface of the water, so that way you can line up your bobber with the unknown fish, and then you can pull out a known fish. I also added some dock tiles since we limited the scope of where fishing can occur, so that way the player knows exactly where they can fish. I also fixed some of the tree placement in the overworld, so that way trees no longer grow straight up in the water. H had a very busy week. He added the furniture icons inside of the carpentry store and allowed the player to purchase said items. He also allowed the game to remember which trees you have chopped down. He added seasonal varieties to the crop yields, added seed drop probabilities on harvesting crops. He also split the wallpaper and the flooring images for when you are purchasing those upgrades from the carpentry shop. You can also buy items from the carpentry shop using wood instead of coins, even though this symbol in the game still references money. He also loaded in fish information, allowed the player to throw their bobber into the water, allowed the fish and the bobber to line up, and allowed the player to catch fish or not catch fish based on where the bobber is located. So thank you for that, H. That was a lot of work this week. So for contributions that aren't quite in the game yet, we have the baby grand piano over here from Owen, and then we can see this unknown fish that got updated, but we will see that in the game in just a second. Speaking of the game, let's jump on over to the demo here. Let's go ahead and kick off a new file here. Go and clear out that old one. We'll make a new farm here. We'll go and show off what H was working on with the character select screen. Let's say we do not select an accessory here, and we were to load into the game. You can see that there is no accessory when you load in, so thank you very much for that change there, H. Or not H, that was McFunkyPants. And also with McFunkyPants, you can see underneath the player here, there's that faint outline of the player. So wherever they go, their player shadow will be right down there, and it mimics what the player has for their purchases, or for their character customization. So thank you for that, McFunkyPants. Let's show off some of what H was working on with the carpentry shop. So if we were to go into our blacksmith here, and let's go and pick up an axe. So we'll come down here to axe. We'll go ahead and buy it and add it to our inventory. Let's go chop down some trees. So the way this works is each different type of tree offers a different type of wood. So I'll try to collect a similar type of wood so we can sort of see how it all stacks together here. So I just chopped down that tree and I got 8 wood out of it. So now let's go hunting for another type of tree similar to that. I've been running into a couple of issues if you were to try to mix the different types of wood when you are in the shop, where the game might crash. So we have logged a bug and we will take care of that next week. So if you were to have the wood and it goes over 9, then instead of rolling over into 2 digits, we will just say that you have 9 plus. So if we were to go into the carpentry shop, it's a little bit deceptive here, because if you want to purchase anything, you don't walk up straight up next to her. Instead, you go over to the counter, and over here is where we will go ahead and buy. So you can see all the different types of carpentry items. They are in their icon. They all have their own wood element values over here, even though they do say the $ right there. So you can scroll through and see all the different types of upgrades, including flooring and wallpaper, as well as household items here. So let's say we want to buy the cupboard here. We'll go ahead and hit L. We'll go ahead and hit buy. And then you can see that our wood went down a certain amount. But if we were to go into the player house, I don't think they are quite set up yet, but we'll go ahead and check. We'll go ahead and hit L. And I'm not seeing it in here, so that's something that I will chat with H about, but that is on the docket for next week. Next, I would like to look at the fishing element that H was working on. So we'll go ahead and select our fishing rod here. He had tied down the fishing to a very specific location, which is over here next to our fisherman, which seems very appropriate here. So if you were to come over here with your fishing rod equipped and you were to press the L key, you can start to see that the bobber was entered into the water. You can see that the unknown fish is now on top of the water there, so that way you can sort of see where the fish is. If the fish is overlapping with the bobber, you can see that the bobber changes into that ripple effect water. So if you were to try to click the fish or click on the bobber with L without the fish on top of it, everything disappears and you do not catch the fish. If you were to hit L again and throw it back in the water, now I have to be good at the minigame and try to catch the fish. Oop, seems I may have broken something here. That's okay. It was working just a moment ago, but that's okay. I will try to line it up where the bobber is on top of the fish. There we go. So there are a couple of icon issues that we are having with the fish right now, but if we were to reload the game, then it will mostly be there. That's on our plate next week to try to knock out. But you can see that we did catch a fish and it was added to our inventory down here. So I believe that is all of the items that are inside of the game. So if we were to bounce on over to the Vikunja board, we're running a little bit towards the end of the project here. We just have 2 weeks left. We're trying to take note of any bugs that we run into during the course of the game, so that way those can make sure and get wrapped up. We do have a couple of items left of upgrading some tools, as well as adding the furniture that the player purchases back into their house. We have a couple of minor tweaks. I'm not sure if we still want to keep those in there. If you were to purchase different types of bed, you increase different levels of stamina. We also need to move the player back into their house once the day is done. And then a couple of other items that the player can kind of have an idea of how these different tools work. So we've already created the first time user experience icons. We just need to display them to the player. So there's still plenty of ways to get involved in terms of code and a little bit left in terms of art. We also have quite a pile of nice to have both in audio as well as code. So if anybody's feeling adventurous in the last couple of weeks, there's still plenty of time to be involved. So that is our weekly update for Cozy Crops.